Zeta Reticuli, past aliens, and more. 9 Things We Learned from Bob Lazar's interview with Joe Rogan July 27, 2019. Bob Lazar makes startling revelations about his alleged experience at S4. Zeta Reticuli, past aliens, and more. 9 Things We Learned from Bob Lazar's interview with Joe Rogan. Photo, Netflix. After the controversial UFO/Bob Lazar figure appeared in a documentary, Bob Lazar, Area 51 and flying saucers sparked interest in him. The documentary, which was added to Netflix in mid-June, details the story of Bob Lazar, a man who claims to have worked at an Area 51 branch known as S4. His job, reverse-engineered the propulsion system that powers one of the 9 flying saucers held at the base. Whether or not Lazar is telling the truth is something you have to decide for yourself. It is difficult to separate fact from fiction in even the most boring subjects of today, let alone one that reshapes all that humanity knows about the nature of existence. The polite Lazar has many stories to tell, and not even a featured documentary can contain them all. Lazar and documentary director Jeremy Kenyon Lockyer Corbell appeared on Rogan's podcast and, over a 2-hour conversation, got into way more than could be covered in any movie. Below you will find 9 information that was not included in the documentary or should have been. 1. Bob Lazar played the first UFO he ever saw. He agreed to work at S4 without knowing what he was getting into. In fact, he thought that the UFO he was assigned to work with wasn't really a UFO when he first saw him. This time I entered, there were open hangar doors. I walked through the hangar door and into the hangar door was the disc, the flying saucer I worked on. I saw him sitting there and we passed him. There was a small American flag attached to it and I thought, why God, this finally explains all the flying saucer stories. This is just an advanced fighter and this is hilarious. Then I passed, slid my hand beside him. I was immediately reprimanded for touching the thing. There was an armed guard following us and said, keep your eyes forward and your hands by your side and just enter the door. 2. Bob Lazar replaced a dead man. How does a job open at S4? Not a beautiful thing. I was replacing someone with whom Lazar's lab partner Barry worked before me and I think there was a horrible accident in which I didn't have much information. Barry alluded to that, where someone died. Lazar says he thinks the accident involved scientists trying to shut down the disk reactor. This must have been a very desperate attempt because it is not a very scientific process to analyze something like this, but it looked like they were using a plasma cutter or something in an operational reactor. 3. The flying saucers came from Zeta Reticuli. There were some documents indicating that this UFO was from the Zeta Reticuli star system. How they got it, I have no idea. It wasn't just Zeta Reticuli's star system, it was what they called ZR3. It was the 3rd planet in this star system. There was no other information about it, other than supposedly where the ship came from. Zeta Reticuli may sound familiar, as it has been part of the modern UFO/UFO tradition from the very beginning. Since the first case of alien abduction, Barney and Betty Hill claimed they were kidnapped by aliens in the fall of 1961 and under hypnosis Betty drew a map of the stars from which they were taken. An amateur astronomer named Marjorie Fish spent years analyzing the map and concluded that it was a map of the Zeta Reticuli system. Whether or not it really has been the subject of much debate, with Carl Sagan speaking out against an episode of The Cosmos Show in 1984. Here, as soon as the inside of a UFO looks like, it is a very ominous feeling, because everything is one color. It is like a dark tin color. There are no right angles anywhere. It is as if someone takes a model and makes it with wax and then warms it for a short time, then everything melts. Everything seems to be merged. Everything has a radius, a curvature where 2 items meet. It is a very strange thing. There was almost nothing but a small folding hatch that looked recognizable. Everything was really out of this world. 5. All 9 UFOs/UFOs in Area 51 were really different. One looked like what I called the gelatin mold. It looked like a classic gelatin mold with wavy sides. One was a very flat disc, like a straw hat or something. 6. Some of the UFOs may be very old. At least one of them was part of an archaeological dig. So it's old. At least one of them is old. I don't know if it was the one I worked on, but I remember something related to an archaeological dig. That means it's not just old, it's very old. 7. There was a physical combat over that initial report. After being fired from S4 for telling people about his work, taking friends to watch test flights and shooting the records, Lazar went to investigative reporter George Knapp, also producer on a new documentary. He sat down for an interview, but, as Lazar recalls, He didn't always have the idea to air. When Knapp finally said he was going to air on that 5 p.m. newscast, Lazar had doubts, and that led to a real physical fight over the video before it aired. I think it was another pull-up. I guess we never hit the ground, but he took the tape, put it on the player and boom, the 5 o'clock news was on the air. 8. Bob Lazar's birth certificate also disappeared. The documentary details how there is no record that Lazar went to MIT or Caltech, and that there are no records of his employment at the Los Alamos